Ukrainian Marines have destroyed a Russian Smerch MLRS multiple launch rocket system, worth around $12.5 million, local media reported on Saturday, citing the statement of the naval forces of Ukrainian armed forces. The system had been used in Russia's relentless attacks on Ukrainian civilians. The Ukrainian Navy said in the statement, operators from the 426th Separate Battalion of Unmanned Systems, part of the 30th Marine Corps, tracked down the adversaries, Smerch MLRS, which had been terrorizing residents of the Kherson and Mykolaiv regions. The Marines had been hunting the enemy system for several weeks and caught it right at its firing position. The MLRS was destroyed after Marines passed its coordinates to an adjacent unit of the National Guard of Ukraine, whose fighters precisely destroyed the target. The 9K-58 Smerch is a Soviet-Russian 300mm MLRS noted for its effectiveness. It takes 3 minutes to prepare after receiving target data, can fire a full salvo in 38 seconds, and the battery can relocate within a minute to avoid retaliation. 3 Smerch launchers match the combat effect of 2 9K-79 Tochka-U brigades. One vehicle's launch can strike roughly 67 hectares, 12 9M55K cluster rockets cover about 40 hectares, and a 6-launcher battery salvo can halt a motorized rifle division's advance. The system saw extensive use in eastern Ukraine in 2014 and was used again by Russian forces during the full-fledged invasion in February 2022. For example, on February 27 to 28 it was used with cluster munitions against parts of Kharkiv and the Mykolaiv area. Several variants of the MLRS exist. In a separate development, the Ukrainian Navy intercepted and destroyed a Russian unmanned surface vessel in Ukraine's territorial waters near a civilian shipping route, according to media reports. Analysts believe this was a new type of drone, indicated by a distinctive structure at the rear, likely housing a camera and communication systems. Ukrainian troops have scaled up missile and drone strikes on Russia's strategic facilities deep in Russia and in Russian-held Ukrainian territories in an attempt to undermine Moscow's war efforts as the hostilities have not entered the 4th year. On Friday, Ukrainian drones struck another oil facility and an industrial complex in Russian-annexed Crimea Peninsula that has been hit hardest by the energy crisis caused by such attacks. A video footage has been released in social media, showing a Ukrainian drone strike on an oil facility on Crimea on Friday. The video captures the moment of the strike on an oil depot and industrial complex in Russian-annexed Crimea Peninsula, followed by explosions. Ukraine's Special Operations Forces launched drone strikes on several Russian targets in Crimea on the night leading to October 17. As a result of the successful operation, an oil depot in Hvardiysk settlement and the FGKU Hvardiyski industrial complex in the village of Kherson, Sakei district, were hit. Fire broke out at the oil depot, as one of the RVS 2000 fuel tanks was hit. The Special Operations Forces pledged to continue to carry out asymmetric actions aimed at stopping Russian troops. The General Staff of the Ukrainian Armed Forces confirmed the attack on Russian targets. Other targets include a Russian military fuel and lubricants depot in Zankoy and a Nebo-U radar station in Yevpatoria. The results of the missions are being verified. The implementation of asymmetric measures to weaken the offensive and military economic potential of the aggressor state will continue until the Kremlin ceases its armed aggression against Ukraine, the General Staff stated. It should be noted that Crimea's largest oil terminal in Feodosia has repeatedly come under Ukrainian drone attacks. Ukraine has scaled up missile and drone strikes on Russian oil and gas facilities in response to massive wave of Russian attacks on the country's power grid and in an attempt to undermine Moscow's war efforts. Ukraine's long-range attacks on energy infrastructure have knocked out around 30% of Russia's oil refining capacity. Russian-annexed Crimea has been most hit by fuel shortages and rationing due to Russia's loss of oil refining capacity. Russia's security service, FSB, has accused the British intelligence of involvement in Ukraine's large-scale spider web operation that targeted airfields deep inside Russia and targeted Air Force's assets in June. The FSB director Alexander Bortnikov claimed that direct supervision of British intelligence helped Ukraine carry out spider web operation that was managed by the United Kingdom ahead of Russian-Ukrainian peace talks in Istanbul. Bortnikov claimed the coordinated drone attack targeting Russian aircrafts was carried out under the direct supervision of British intelligence, and the British allegedly provided propaganda support, spreading fake data about huge losses and Ukraine's authorship. The Security Service of Ukraine denied FSB's allegations, describing them as an attempt to justify its own failure to the domestic audience. Today, Russian special services made yet another so-called sensational statement, claiming that Operation Spiderweb was supposedly conducted under the supervision of foreign partners and did not cause serious damage to Russian forces, the SBU's press service said. The security service stressed that this unique, complex, and multi-layered special operation was carried out entirely by Ukraine's own forces. Thanks to the SBU employees and their work, the myth of the omnipotence of the FSB crumbled before our eyes and burned down along with the Russian strategic aviation aircraft, the SBU press service noted. Furthermore, the SBU pledged to continue fighting Russia. We will continue to respond to Russian terror and eliminate the enemy everywhere, on land, at sea, and in the air. And if necessary, we'll even dig them out from underground, said SBU Chief Lieutenant General Vasil Maliuk. A day prior to Bortnikov's accusations, the United Kingdom imposed fresh sanctions on Russia, including on major fuel firms Rosneft and Lukoil. It should be noted that this is not the first occasion that Russian intelligence has accused the UK of involvement in covert hostile actions. London has repeatedly denied any direct participation in attacks on Russian territory, dismissing such claims as part of Moscow's ongoing disinformation efforts. The security service's Operation Spiderweb took place on June 1 this year. The operation damaged or destroyed a large number of Russian aircraft, most of them strategic bombers. Ukrainian drones targeted 4 military bases, Belia, Dyagilevo, Olynia, and Ivanova as part of the operation, including 50 planes and 2 95 and 2 22M3 bombers. Later, the SBU stated that the total estimated value of the damaged or destroyed Russian strategic aircraft from Operation Web amounted to $7 billion. On June 3, Ukraine's General Staff confirmed that the Spiderweb operation had resulted in hits on 41 Russian military aircraft.